Let's talk knee osteoarthritis exercises for when you have progressed past open chain and you're ready to start incorporating some closed chain activities. Before we do that, I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about your cardio. So if you're really wanting to perform cardio, a bike is wonderful for that. If you don't have a bike, there's another exercise that you can do. It's called just sit and move your knees. So if you were to sit in a chair and just work on little movements, just doing like tailgate swings or pendulum swings, small movements that are not painful, that's going to increase the nutrients to the joint. So if you don't have a bike, that's okay. Pool. Being in a pool and just walking around is a wonderful activity as well. What we're going to do today is focus on a couple of very basic exercises that we can try to modify for your knee osteoarthritis. I'll give some pointers along the way. The first exercise is one that a lot of people don't think that they can do. It's a squat. So with knee osteoarthritis, you may have to work into a squat. What we're going to do is just start with a quarter squat. So I'm going to give you a couple of different options. So I'm doing a quarter squat. My knees are not turning in, trying to keep them in line with my femur and with my hips. So I'm going to go for 10 repetitions. I'm also focused on when you have knee osteoarthritis, you might not be able to distinguish if you're putting more weight on one side than the other. Make sure you check for this. You may need to hold on to something. So you may need to hold on to a chair or a rail of some type, especially if you go through these and you're trying to increase your range of motion, trying to get a little lower into that squat. You can also use a chair so that you are coming up from a seated position using the arms of the chair. So squats are very important. Another variation of a squat is a wall squat. Again, might not be a bad idea to have something next to you to hold on to. Put your back against the wall, including your low back, and slide down, making sure that your knees don't go too far forward in front of your toes. If your wall is nice and smooth, you can kind of go up and down easily, or you can go down and hold. I'm at approximately a 45-degree angle, and for some people, holding that will be plenty. You can get a great quad workout when you're performing that. All of squats help with improving your function. We all need to stand up and sit down. This is going to help with that. Okay, so the next exercise that we're going to work on is stepping up. Again, you may want to use something to hang on to. I actually just am starting with a 2-inch step. A lot of people with knee osteoarthritis say it's very painful to go up and down stairs. So going up and down an 8 to 10-inch step is going to be pretty difficult. Start progressing it a little slowly, a little more slowly, excuse me, with a 2-inch step. I'm going to step up and come down slowly. I don't need to take that knee into a hard straightening in that position. Keep it slow and controlled, working the muscles. So at any point when you're performing these, if it's just not for you at this time, skip it, progress it later. You may not be ready for this at this time. But I try to focus on exercises that I know are functional to people. Even if you don't have stairs in your house, you're going to encounter some stairs, not to mention curbs. Okay, so starting off with the 2-inch step, see how that feels. If you feel good about it, you can put a riser underneath that, trying a 4-inch step. Step-ups are wonderful functional exercise for strengthening the knee. The next exercise for knee osteoarthritis is calf raises. You want to make sure you have strong calves. So raising up onto the toes. Again, you can have an object to hold on to. So for some people, you may look at this video and able to do the squats or quarter squats. You may be able to do the step ups, able to do the calf raises, and then you finish it and you think, well, I can do more than that. You can add weights. So you can hold weights during the squats, you can hold weights during the calf raises, and during the step ups as well. With the step ups, make sure that before you progress to weights, that you're trying to increase to where you're like on a 6 or 8 inch step, because that's a functional size. So your calves are very much endurance muscles, and you can go higher repetitions. So we're going for 12 to 15 repetitions of these. All the other exercises, you do anywhere from 8 to 12 repetitions, depending on how you're feeling. Okay, I'm going to stop there, and then I'm going to give an optional exercise. The optional exercise is a lunge. So most people with knee osteoarthritis say, I can't do lunges. Maybe, maybe not. Let's try. What I want you to think about with a lunge, I'm going to do this from the side, is you're going to have both feet facing forward, and think about this being a vertical movement. Where people mess up with lunges is they focus on a horizontal movement. Lunges are not a horizontal movement. You need to be up on your toe on the back foot. And I'm going to come down and up. If I were to come all the way down, which I wouldn't want you to, it would be a 90-degree angle on the front and the back. So it is an up and down movement, not a forward movement. Let's talk exercises that I don't recommend with knee osteoarthritis. So I don't recommend super deep squats. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone with knee osteoarthritis can't go into a super deep squat, but it probably isn't going to feel good to hold that position for long periods of time. The other exercise I don't recommend is if you are going to try to work yourself into lunges, stick with either a static lunge, which is stationary, or a reverse lunge, which is a stepping back. A little bit easier on the knee than trying to do a front lunge in that position, which is not as easy to control, or a diagonal lunge. So if you're going to focus on lunges, make sure you're trying the static or the rear lunges first. And the final closed chain exercise, standing exercise that I recommend for knee osteoarthritis is a hip hinge. So the hip hinge, there's an instructional video on the hip hinge. When you have knee osteoarthritis, I imagine you probably have some other arthritic conditions or problems possibly with your low back, hip, neck. So I want you to make sure you are watching the instructional video on a hip hinge. Hip hinge, you're going to make sure that your feet are about hip width apart. I'm going to use no weight for this. I'm going to slide down to my knees. My back is straight and flat. My glutes are going back this way, and then I'm going to stand up, squeezing the hamstrings and the glutes. So when you go down in this position, most of your weight should be through your heels. You should feel a stretch on the hamstrings. Do not round the back. You can go further than your knees, but it's not necessary. You can also kind of use the wall as a prop, where I'm hinging back, aiming my glutes for the wall, this position. Eight to 12 repetitions. Check with each rep to make sure you have good form. So now I'm going to do a standing hamstring stretch because we still have to work on that motion. So I'm going to be in a standing position, pulling my toes up, holding onto the wall for stability if needed, hinging forward, feeling a stretch all the way down, even into the calf, since I'm pulling those toes up. Okay, so use these 2 videos for knee osteoarthritis. Pick and choose what works for you in the moment. All the exercises are good, and there are multiple other exercises that you can perform as well. Starting with these will be a good base for you to progress with your knee osteoarthritis. Have a good day.